Hey there! Welcome to 1% English Podcast, the daily English show that trains your ears and your brain just 20 minutes a day. Today, we'll join our two hosts to find out why it actually feels amazing to be biased, even when it distorts the truth.
So today we are embarking on a deep dive into a really powerful, incredibly common and often invisible mental trap. It's called confirmation bias. Our mission today is to understand what it actually is, why our brains seem to love it so much, even when it leads us completely astray, sometimes without us even noticing, and crucially, how we can consciously spot it and challenge it.
The goal isn't just knowing about it, right? It's about using that knowledge.
Exactly. It's about becoming better, more critical thinkers, making maybe slightly sharper decisions, and ultimately just being a bit more open-minded. This deep dive is custom tailored for you, our curious listener, ready to unpack some fascinating psychology.
Let's do it. It's a concept that honestly touches almost everything we do, from tiny habits to huge global events.
Okay, then, let's unpack this. What exactly is confirmation bias? Let's try and pin it down. The simplest way I think about it is, it's like your brain's search only in the store mode. Or maybe cherry-picking mode is better.
Ooh, I like cherry picking, yeah.
Instead of looking impartially at all the evidence, all the facts, different perspectives, your brain actively seeks out information. It interprets things. It even remembers stuff in a way that confirms what you already believe. Your existing hypotheses, your gut feelings.
It's like you got this mental filter, right?
Yeah.
And it's working automatically.
Exactly. It prioritizes, it highlights, sometimes it even twists things a little so that whatever comes through makes you feel like, yep, I was right all along.
And that filter analogy is pretty spot on, because it's often not a conscious thing, is it? We're not deliberately deciding, I'm going to ignore that evidence. It's more automatic. Our cognitive systems are just sort of geared towards validating what we already think is true. We often don't even realize we're doing it.
Which, when you first hear it, sounds a bit counterproductive, almost lazy, maybe. You think, why would my brain do that? Isn't that inefficient?
Right, it seems like it would lead to mistakes.
But here's where it gets really interesting. It's actually about efficiency. Our brains, they use a ton of energy. They're like high-performance computers running on battery, always looking to save power.
That's a great way to put it.
And Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize winner, he talks about this. It's simply more efficient. It takes less mental energy to just confirm what you already believe than to do the hard work of challenging it, really scrutinizing new conflicting information, maybe overturning a deeply held belief. That takes serious effort.
That's such a crucial point. It's a cognitive shortcut, a heuristic designed to save processing power. And, maybe back in our evolutionary past, that was super useful for making quick life or death decisions. Like, is that shadow a predator? But in our complex, information-loaded world today, that same shortcut can create huge blind spots.
And speaking of how our brains work and these shortcuts, there's a classic experiment that shows this perfectly. Peter Wasson, he gave participants this simple sequence of numbers, 2, 4, 6, and he said, okay, I have a rule in mind that generated this sequence. Your job is to figure out the rule.
How do they do that?
They could propose new sequences of 3 numbers. Wasson would tell them, yes, that fits my rule, or no, it doesn't, and they were supposed to keep going until they felt confident they knew the rule.
Okay, sounds simple enough. So what happened? What did people usually guess the rule was?
Well, faced with 2, 4, 6, what's the first thing that jumps out?
Numbers going up by 2? Or maybe just even numbers going up.
Exactly. That was the immediate hypothesis for most people.
So they tested that.
Yes, and this is where the bias really shows up. To test their guess, most participants offered sequences that confirmed their idea. They'd say, okay, how about 8, 10, 12?
And Wesson would say,
yes, fits the rule. Then they'd try 14, 16, 18. Yes, fits the rule. Maybe 20, 22, 24. Fits the rule.
So they felt like they were nailing it, getting closer?
They thought they were, but they weren't getting any closer to the actual rule, which was incredibly simple, just any 3 ascending numbers.
So 1, 2, 3 would fit, or 5, 10, 100.
Exactly, but their confirmation strategy, only testing sequences that fit their narrow going up by 2 idea, kept them stuck.
And that's the confirmation bias right there, isn't it? Very few people tried to disprove their guess.
Precisely. They didn't offer sequences like, say, 2, 3, 4. That fits the real rule, ascending numbers, but it breaks their going up by 2 rule.
Or they didn't try something like 10, 5, 1 to see if descending numbers were allowed. They weren't actively looking for information that would challenge or, falsify their guess. They were just seeking validation. Am I right? Still right. Yep, still right.
It's such a neat illustration, that mental default. Instead of pausing and thinking, wait a second, what if I'm completely wrong here? Or what if my first idea isn't the whole picture?
It really highlights our natural tendency.
So let me ask you, our listener, have you ever noticed yourself doing this? Maybe when you're looking something up online, researching a topic you already have an opinion on, do you find yourself clicking on the articles that look like they'll agree with you, even subconsciously?
Oh, I think we all do it. It's almost reflexive. We often don't even see the bias operating under the surface. We just feel right.
Why do we do it? Why are our brains wired this way? Why do we love being right so much?
One big one is something called cognitive dissonance.
Okay, cognitive dissonance. Let's break that down.
Leon Festinger, a psychologist back in the 50s, came up with this idea. And it's basically that itchy mental discomfort, that psychological tension you feel when you hold two conflicting beliefs, or when new information clashes with what you already think, or even with your actions.
So like knowing smoking is bad for you, but smoking anyway, that creates an internal clash.
Exactly. That's a classic example. Your belief, smoking is harmful, conflicts with your behavior. I smoke. That creates dissonance and uncomfortable feeling, and our brains really don't like that feeling.
They want to resolve it somehow.
Precisely. And confirmation bias is a very clever, often unconscious way to avoid that discomfort in the first place. It's just easier for the brain to dismiss or ignore or reinterpret conflicting evidence than it is to go through the often painful process of changing a deeply held belief.
So it maintains a kind of mental harmony, even if it's a false harmony based on ignoring stuff.
Exactly. It avoids the internal conflict. Like, if you think you're a super organized person, but your desk is a disaster, dissonance, it's easier to think, oh, I'm just really busy right now, than to confront the possibility that maybe your self-image as organized isn't quite accurate. Confirmation bias helps you find reasons to support the I'm busy explanation.
Makes sense. And is there an evolutionary angle to this too? Did it help us survive?
Quite possibly, yes. Think about early humans. You hear a rustle in the bushes. Is it just the wind? Or is it a saber-toothed tiger that wants you for lunch? Quickly confirming a hunch, rustle means danger, R-O-N, was often safer, even if you were wrong sometimes. Hesitating, carefully weighing contradictory evidence that could get you eaten.
So speed and decisiveness, based on confirming a quick hunch, were advantageous.
In many situations, absolutely. Our brains are still running some of that old software, even when it doesn't always fit our modern information environment.
Okay, so it avoids discomfort, it might help to survive, but there's another big piece, right? The part we hinted at with the title, the feel-good factor.
Yes, the emotional payoff. This is really core to why we might stay wrong but feel amazing about it. Being biased, finding evidence that confirms what we think. When information aligns with our beliefs, our brains can release a little burst of dopamine. It's like a tiny neurological reward, a pat on the back saying, yes, you got it right. It validates us, makes us feel smart, perceptive, like we understand the world.
It's an emotional spa day for your ego, as we put it earlier.
I love that phrase. It perfectly captures it. And this emotional reward is powerful. It lets us neatly sidestep that awkward, itchy feeling of cognitive dissonance when we realize we might be wrong.
And this isn't just happening in our own heads, is it? You see this exploited elsewhere.
Oh, absolutely. Think about social media algorithms. They're often designed very effectively to feed us content that confirms our existing views. Why? Because it feels good, it keeps us engaged, clicking, scrolling. We end up in these comfortable echo chambers.
Where everyone agrees with us and the algorithm keeps saying, you're right and smart and here's more proof.
Exactly. It creates a feedback loop. Our brains naturally prioritize feeling good and consistent over being objectively correct, especially when our beliefs are tied to our identity. It's a subtle but really strong force, keeping us locked into our existing perspectives, even if they're flawed.
Okay, so we know what it is. We know why our brains kind of default to it. Let's look at confirmation bias in action. Because it really is everywhere, isn't it? Shaping things big and small.
It pops up constantly.
Think about personal relationships.
We build these narratives based on selective evidence, like deciding someone's a negative person. Then suddenly, every little complaint proves your point, and you just don't notice their cheerful moments.
And this isn't just about friendships. It gets serious in professional fields. Take medicine. Jerome Groopman, a physician and writer, pointed this out. Doctors can fall victim to it.
How so? In diagnosis.
Yes. A doctor might get an initial hunch about a diagnosis when they first hear symptoms. Maybe it's the most common thing or something they saw recently. Once that idea is in their head, what's sometimes called diagnostic anchoring, they might unintentionally look for evidence that confirms it.
So they might overlook other clues.
Exactly. They might overlook crucial details from the physical exam, or dismiss test results that don't quite fit, or interpret ambiguous symptoms in a way that supports their initial idea.
Wow, that could lead to misdiagnosis, couldn't it? With potentially serious consequences.
Absolutely. It shows how even highly trained experts with the best intentions can be swayed by these cognitive shortcuts. The first idea becomes a powerful filter.
That's quite concerning. It really highlights the need for awareness, even among professionals.
Definitely. And what about the business world? We see leaders sometimes double down on projects that are clearly failing.
Pouring good money after bad, as they say.
Right. Imagine a CEO really believed in a new product, they championed it, then the data starts coming in, sales are bad, customer feedback is negative, the market isn't responding.
But they don't want to admit defeat.
So maybe they seize on one tiny positive sign, a slightly better sales week in one small region, or one vaguely positive comment from an intern, and they interpret that as proof it's working, or it just needs more time, more money.
They're confirming their hope, not assessing the reality.
Yeah.
And that often ties into the sunk cost fallacy too, right? We've already invested so much.
Exactly. The past investment reinforces the desire to confirm the initial decision was right, even if it means risking more. It becomes about validating themselves.
Leading to wasted resources, missed opportunities.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's politics and society. This is maybe where confirmation bias is most visible and maybe most worrying today.
The echo chambers.
Totally. We all tend to cozy up to news outlets, social media feeds, commentators who tell us what we already believe. If you lean one way politically, you follow certain sources. If you lean the other way, you follow different ones.
And the algorithms often help us do that, don't they?
Precisely. These platforms basically say, you're right and smart, and everyone who disagrees is wrong, crazy, evil. They validate our existing views constantly, rarely challenging them.
Which makes it incredibly hard to understand, let alone empathize with, people who see things differently. It fuels polarization.
It really does. Productive conversation across divides becomes almost impossible when everyone's locked in their own reality-confirming bubble.
The societal implications are huge. Fragmentation, breakdown of trust. It's a serious challenge.
And this isn't just a modern problem. It has deep historical roots with devastating consequences. Let's look at a really powerful and frankly disturbing historical example, the Scottsboro Boys case.
Ah, yes. A truly tragic and important case from the 1930s in the U.S.
Documented by James Goodman and others. In 1931, 9 young black men, most of them just teenagers, were accused of raping 2 white women on a freight train in Alabama. The outcome was just staggering. The U.S. Supreme Court actually overturned the convictions twice because the trials were so unfair, lack of proper legal counsel, all-white juries, and a place where that guaranteed bias. And get this, one of the accusers, Ruby Bates, she admitted she lied about the rape.
So, evidence that should have cleared them. Pretty compelling evidence.
You would think. But despite all that, juries, still all white men, repeatedly found the Scottsboro Boys guilty. The evidence, the Supreme Court rulings, the recanted testimony, it was just dismissed or ignored.
How is that even possible? How does a legal system ignore facts like that?
That's where confirmation bias on a massive societal scale comes in. For many white Southerners then, the very idea of black men raping white women was seen as this ultimate, unspeakable crime. It tapped into deep-seated racial fears and prejudices.
So the accusation itself was enough.
It seems so. That deeply ingrained belief system acted like an incredibly powerful confirmation bias. The idea of their guilt felt self-evident to those juries, regardless of the actual evidence. The facts that contradicted the narrative were filtered out, reinterpreted, or just didn't register against the overwhelming weight of their prior beliefs and prejudices.
That's horrifying. Prior beliefs literally overriding facts, ruining lives.
Exactly. The Scottsboro case is a chilling reminder that confirmation bias can shape legal outcomes, perpetuate systemic injustice, and have truly devastating consequences when it operates unchecked on a societal level. Whole groups can stay wrong and feel righteous about it because their biased perspective keeps getting reinforced.
Wow. Okay, so that really drives home the stakes. If it's this pervasive, this powerful, can we actually do anything about it? Or are we just stuck in our biased ways, feeling good about being wrong?
That is the million-dollar question. And the answer is Yes, we can do something. We probably can't eliminate it completely. It seems pretty hardwired. But we can absolutely get much, much better at recognizing it and reducing its influence.
Okay, so how do we start? What's the path to unbias?
Step one, the absolute foundation, is just awareness. You have to learn to catch yourself in the act.
Become a bias detective for your own mind.
Sort of. Pay attention to those moments when you have an instant, really strong reaction to information. A quick agreement, a fast disagreement, an immediate judgment forming, that feeling. That's often bias grabbing the steering wheel. That's your fast, intuitive system one kicking in, ready to confirm what you already think.
That initial gut feeling, that emotional hit, it's a signal, a sign that your existing beliefs might be coloring things before you've even had a chance to really process the information objectively.
So pause right there. Notice that feeling. Don't just run with it. Let me ask you again, listener. Can you think of a recent time that happened? Maybe reading a news headline, hearing someone's opinion, and bam! Instant strong reaction, yes or no, before you even got the details.
Those are the moments to flag mentally.
Exactly. And that leads directly to step two, slow it down. We need to engage our more deliberate thinking. Remember Daniel Kahneman's two systems.
System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast, intuitive, emotional, the default mode, prone to bias.
Right. It's great for recognizing your friend's face or dodging a suddenly thrown ball. System 2 is the slow, deliberate, analytical mode. It's what you use for complex problems, like figuring out your taxes or carefully learning something new. It takes effort and concentration.
So, to fight confirmation bias, we need to shift gears from System 1 to System 2.
Precisely. Less mindlessly scrolling social media mode where stuff just washes over you and gets instantly categorized.
And more carefully reading IKEA instructions mode.
Exactly. Deliberate, analytical, questioning assumptions, looking for alternatives. You have to consciously choose to engage System 2, to slow down and think critically instead of just reacting based on the first feeling or thought.
And that takes practice, right?
It definitely takes conscious effort. It's about building a habit. Pause before judging. Create a little space between the information coming in and your reaction to it.
Like mental mindfulness almost. Observing the thought without immediately buying into it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And here's a crucial question to ask yourself in that pause. This is the ultimate what if I'm wrong test. Ask yourself, what evidence would actually change my mind about this?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It is. But be honest, if the answer that comes back is genuinely nothing, absolutely nothing could ever change my mind on this, then you're likely just defending a belief, possibly a biased one, that nothing ever feeling is a huge red flag. It signals that your belief might be locked down, resistant to facts.
Because if a belief is based on evidence, there should theoretically be some evidence that it could challenge it, right? If no evidence could possibly matter, then the belief probably isn't based on evidence anymore. Maybe it's tied to identity or emotion or group belonging.
Right. It forces you to confront your own potential fallibility, which, as we said, our brains resist, but it's incredibly revealing about how open you really are.
Okay, so awareness, slowing down, asking the what would change my mind question. These help us spot the bias. Now, how do we actively reduce it? What are the tools?
Great question. And there are some powerful tools. One of the most fundamental comes from philosophy of science, from Karl Popper. His big idea was falsifiability.
Falsifiability. Okay, sounds technical, but what's the core idea?
Popper argued that the real mark of a scientific theory isn't whether you can find evidence to confirm it. You can often find confirming evidence for all sorts of weird ideas if you look selectively. The real test is whether the theory could potentially be proven false. Is it testable in a way that could refute it?
So instead of just looking for proof, you're right.
You should actively look for ways you might be wrong. That's the core principle that directly fights confirmation bias. Treat your opinions, your beliefs, like scientific hypotheses. Don't just ask, what proves me right? Ask the harder question. What evidence, what observation would disprove this? What would force me to change my mind?
Popper noticed that theories like Einstein's relativity were powerful because they made specific, risky predictions. If experiments showed those predictions were wrong, like if light didn't bend around stars as predicted, the theory would be falsified.
But he contrasted that with things like, say, some psychoanalytic theories of his time, or certain political ideologies which he felt could be twisted to explain anything that happened.
So for Popper, those weren't really scientific. They were unfalsifiable.
Right, and his big insight for how knowledge grows wasn't just by piling up confirmations. It grows through error elimination. We propose ideas, we try our hardest to shoot them down, to find the flaws, and the ideas that survive rigorous attempts at falsification are the ones we provisionally accept. But they're never proven true forever. They're just the best we have so far.
That's a radically different way of thinking than just seeking comfort and confirmation, isn't it? It requires intellectual humility, the willingness to be wrong.
Absolutely. It's about actively seeking the weaknesses in your own ideas, not just admiring their strengths. It takes courage, but it leads to stronger, more reliable understanding.
And that connects back to the Wason 246 task. The people who solved it quickly were the ones who tried to break their own rule, who tested sequences that would falsify their initial hypothesis.
Exactly. They demonstrated the power of seeking disconfirming evidence.
Okay, so embracing this idea of falsifiability is key. How do we translate that and the other ideas into practical, everyday strategies, things our listeners can actually do?
Right. Let's get concrete. Here are some actionable strategies you can start using, aiming for that 1% daily improvement.
Actively seek out opposing viewpoints. Don't just glance at the headline and dismiss it. Deliberately search for the smartest, most well-argued case against your position.
Go find the best arguments from the other side.
Yes. Read articles from sources you usually avoid. Listen to podcasts with different perspectives. And don't just listen to find flaws. Try, genuinely try, to understand their logic. Why do they believe what they believe? What evidence do they find compelling? Researchers call this considering the opposite.
That sounds uncomfortable.
It definitely can be, especially if it challenges core beliefs. But that discomfort is often a sign you're stretching your mind, engaging system 2, breaking out of the echo chamber. That's where learning happens.
Okay, so seek out opposing views. What else?
Second, play devil's advocate. Argue against yourself,
How does that work?
either in your own head or maybe with a trusted friend who likes a good debate. Take your own cherished belief and actively argue against it. Try to poke holes in it. Think of all the reasons it might be wrong or incomplete, or why an alternative might be better. Keep going until it actually feels a little annoying or makes you slightly uncomfortable.
So you're forcing yourself to see the weaknesses.
Exactly. You're anticipating counter-arguments, stress-testing your own reasoning. It reveals the cracks you might otherwise ignore.
Okay, that makes sense. Like quality control for your own ideas.
And finally, there's a really neat technique, especially for projects or planning, called the pre-mortem method. It comes from Gary Klein.
Pre-mortem, like before death.
Sort of. Instead of a post-mortem analyzing why something did fail, you do it beforehand. When you're starting a project or making a plan, you imagine it's, say, a year in the future, and the project has already failed.
That sounds a bit pessimistic.
It seems like it, but it's incredibly useful. Then you or your team brainstorm all the possible reasons why it failed, what went wrong, what obstacles did we hit, what assumptions were flawed.
So you're proactively identifying potential risks and weaknesses before you even start, by imagining failure.
Yes, it counteracts our natural optimism bias and our tendency to only confirm that things will go well. By forcing yourself to think about failure modes, you uncover threats and blind spots early on, when you can still do something about them. It directly challenges the bias towards positive confirmation.
That's clever, like a mental time machine to prevent future errors.
All these tools, seeking opposing views, playing devil's advocate, the pre-mortem, they're all about building habits. Cultivating a mindset that values finding the truth, or at least a more accurate picture, over just feeling comfortable and right all the time.
It's about embracing that intellectual humility Popper talked about.
Exactly. As we do in these deep dives, especially for our listeners improving their English, let's clarify a few key vocabulary words we've used today. These are really useful terms for understanding these concepts. First up, cognitive dissonance. This is around a B2 plus level term.
Okay, cognitive dissonance. This is that mental discomfort, that psychological stress you feel when you hold two contradictory beliefs or ideas, or when new information clashes with what you already think or do. It's that uncomfortable internal inconsistency.
Right. For example, you experience cognitive dissonance when you know smoking is bad for you, but you continue to smoke anyway. Your brain feels that tension and wants to reduce it, maybe by downplaying the risks or emphasizing the pleasure.
Good example. Next, the star of today's show, confirmation bias. Also B2 plus level.
Confirmation bias. This is the tendency to search for, interpret, favor, and remember information in a way that confirms or strengthens the beliefs or hypotheses you already have. Your brain selectively noticing evidence that fits.
For example, When she was looking for a new car, her confirmation bias made her mostly read reviews that praised the model she already liked, while quickly skimming over or dismissing the negative comments about it.
Perfect. And finally, a slightly more advanced one, C1 level, falsifiability.
Falsifiability. This is the idea, mainly from philosophy of science, that for a statement, theory, or hypothesis to be considered scientific, it must be possible to prove it wrong. There has to be some conceivable observation or experiment that could refute it.
For instance, a good scientific theory must have falsifiability. The theory that all swans are white is falsifiable because finding just one black swan instantly proves the theory wrong. If theory can't possibly be proven wrong, it's not really testable.
Those are 3 really useful terms to understand this topic and for expanding your English generally.
Definitely. So let's wrap up. Confirmation bias, as we've seen, isn't just some minor mental glitch. It has real, significant consequences.
Yeah, from our personal relationships to medical diagnoses to huge historical injustices like the Scottsboro case, and even the polarized state of our public conversations today, it's everywhere.
If we let it run unchecked, if we just drift along in our comfortable confirmation bubbles, our worldview can get incredibly narrow, like looking at the world through a keyhole. Or, as one source put it, narrower than the last Pringle in the tube.
Huh, I like that one too. It really limits our understanding, doesn't it? It hinders our growth, makes it harder to connect with people who see things differently. We feel confident, but our actual understanding shrinks.
We get stuck, intellectually stunted even.
Which is the opposite of growing and learning. To really grow, we have to be willing to update our views, maybe even admit we were wrong sometimes.
So here's our challenge for you, our dedicated listener. As you go through your week, continuing that journey to be 1% better every day.
Okay, the challenge.
When you catch yourself making a strong judgment, holding a firm opinion, or about to make a quick decision, just pause. Take 1 extra second. Breathe. And ask yourself honestly, what might I be ignoring here? What piece of evidence, if I saw it, would actually change my mind about this? The moment you actively seek out what might prove you wrong, you unlock something powerful.
What's that?
A truly underrated superpower. The ability to embrace the possibility, maybe even the joy, of being happily wrong.
Congrats! You just crushed your 1% for today. If you're loving this podcast, show that subscribe button some love. And don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss your daily dose of 1%. That's it for today. Take care, keep growing, and we'll see you tomorrow.